Good evening, Cyclopeans. Welcome to Sci-Clops Podcast 24, brought to you by H.P. Lovecraft's The Interment. We always start every podcast with an H.P. Lovecraft story just to get you reading some of the best horror that's ever been written. And we just had his anniversary of his death. It's been 80 years since he died.
You mean since Cthulhu took
Since
him?
Cthulhu took him, since he went to that great beyond.
I don't know if you call it great, but it's beyond.
Somewhere it's beyond. So we did a whole bunch of stuff on that earlier. We were talking about it with a lot of people. It was a lot of fun, and it was really cool to see a little bit more attention come up on Lovecraft. But anytime you can get a chance to read Lovecraft, please do. If you like horror, definitely read all the Lovecraft you can grab, and it's all free. And we'll have a link up to where you can find all the free stories. And we're gonna get right to work with comics. My name's Dan.
I'm Tom.
And here we go.
This week I have one DC, one Marvel, one IDW, and one Boom Studios. So it's all over the board today, which is fun. I'll start off with Batman number 19, which is the third installment in the I Am Bane storyline. And right around the time that the third Christopher Nolan Bane movie was coming out, I bought the entire Nightfall saga, which was Bane's introduction into the Batman mythos. And he was great. He was this new villain. It was, nobody he'd ever fought before, and Bane just completely manhandled him and broke his spine, which was awesome. And now it's great because Tom King has basically done Nightfall in reverse. Bane has showed up in Gotham City looking for vengeance against Batman, trying to get the Psycho Pirate back. And Bane's plan when he first showed up in Gotham City was he busted everybody out of Arkham. So Batman had to spend 3 months running everybody down and catching them. And then by the time Batman caught everybody and went back home, Bane was waiting for him and then just beat the snot out of him, and it was not even a close fight. And in this issue, we have Batman pulling the same trick, except instead of busting everybody out of Arkham, he lures Bane into Arkham, but has set all the inmates inside free, and promised them if they deal with Bane, he'll make their stay more pleasant. So Bane has to fight his way through the entire roster, almost, of Batman villains.
That is cool.
To get to Batman. And it's really cool because it was about halfway through the issue where it finally clicked. I'm like, this is what Bane did. It's happening to him now. And so it's fun. We get a lot of Batman villains we haven't seen in a while, like Hush and Calendar Man and Amygdala and all these obscure characters we haven't seen in forever. And Bane just mows through everybody. Awesome. He's just breaking skulls and shattering teeth, and he's just mowing through everyone. And the I Am Bane storyline is going to wrap up next issue. And I'm really waiting for that big smackdown between him and Batman one more time. So I think Tom King's work on Batman has been stellar so far. And I think that this is just another excellent issue in the series. And I'm really looking forward to the wrap-up next 2 weeks from now, I guess.
What a cool idea. And a great way to bring all these extra characters in.
Yeah, like Hush and all these really characters that either didn't pop up in the New 52 at all or were just like cameo appearances. I don't even remember Hush being in the New 52. Maybe he was in like Batman Eternal or something. Awesome. But I really like that, how they flipped the Nightfall storyline and had Bane have to mow through everybody in Arkham now instead. On the other side of the fence, at Marvel, we have Venom number 5. Now, I was initially not so sold on this Venom series, but I've come around a lot on it. And the big thing they did yesterday was Spider-Man was teased to get involved. And anybody who's even remotely familiar with Spider-Man knows that Spider-Man and Venom have an incredibly long history together. The interesting thing here is Peter is still under the impression that Flash Thompson, his old friend, is Venom. So he has no idea that the new guy, Lee Price, has the suit, and that Lee Price is a very, very, very not nice man. And so we get a brief scuffle with Spider-Man and Venom again. A little too short for my liking. I would have preferred to see it go on a little bit longer, but I can see why they didn't. So Lee at this point has his hopes of becoming a shadowy, criminally, kingpin behind the scenes are pretty much shattered. Now people know there's a new Venom who's not a good guy. And now he's just going to have to go straight to the top, the old school villain way. The big reveal for this issue is at the end, Eddie Brock shows up again to fight the new Venom. Cool. And Eddie Brock was the original Venom. And since then, he's decided he's going to destroy every symbiote that he comes across because he thinks they're all evil and turn everybody nutso. And Marvel recently teased a while ago that Eddie and Venom were going to bond again and become Venom again. I don't know if that's going to be a permanent thing and there'll be another new Venom series, even though we're only on issue 5 of this one. But we'll see where they go with it. But again, still good stuff. I really hope that they're not going to play hot potato again with the Venom suit, and we'll see where this goes. And that brings me to IDW with the second issue of the Highlander, the American Dream miniseries. I loved the original Highlander movie. I loved the TV show. We don't really talk about the sequels because those were terrible. But in
they
comic,
never happened.
Yeah, what are you talking about? There's only one Highlander movie. But the comics have been much kinder to the franchise than the rest of it ever was. And this is fun because it kind of basically ignores everything but the original movie.
Good. And
here we see right pre the movie, like probably days before the movie hits. And an immortal from Connor's past comes back for help getting rid of another immortal that they ran into during the Revolutionary War, or not the Revolutionary, the Civil War. And who has, over the centuries, become just a depraved serial killer because he can't get enough of it. And so we get to see Connor go from the Civil War into the 50s, and we get a lot more of his backstory explained. And not so much in the action this week, but it was a really cool kind of watching Connor become the Connor we see at the beginning of that first Highlander movie, and setting the stage for a big showdown against an immortal. And they keep teasing the Kurgan in here. Like, they keep talking about him. Like, that's going to be, like, the final issue is the Kurgan's going to show up or something. So I really like it. I think this is... it's a 5-issue miniseries. We're on issue number 2. I think it's a great... There's so much you could do with Highlander in terms of comics. They don't even have to be about Connor. You could find a character and any immortal, really, and go with it. You could do Fitz from the show or, Duncan or anything like that. And it's great, and I hope that this isn't like the end. And then they keep going with the franchise because this is really cool.
Let me ask you a question: did they do anything from the TV series? Much from the TV series?
They have in the past done TV series comics that follow Duncan.
Okay, because I wonder if they were going to pull any of those characters.
So far they haven't. Yeah, they haven't referenced anything.
Nobody's picked up the phone to Roger Daltrey.
Yeah, no. Oh my God, right? He wouldn't show up unless it was the Duncan comic anyway. Yeah. No, he says he knew Connor, but I don't think they never had any interaction. But I think it's fantastic, and there's so much you could do with Highlander. Which brings me to my last one, Power Rangers number 13. And as we swiftly approach the Power Rangers, oh God, the Power Rangers movie is only 3 days away at this point, so we're gonna have to go see that.
Those tremors you hear?
Yeah,
that's Tom's heart. He's very nervous right now.
The weird thing is, early reviews are actually kind of favorable.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously I'm gonna have to judge it for myself, but I'm remaining optimistic. But anyway, the comic has done nothing but great stuff since its debut. And here we're still in the storyline where Tommy and Billy got sucked into that alternate world with the evil Tommy. And we get to see, it's really cool because we get to see a little bit of the Power Rangers' potential future. We have Aisha as a character now. She's the character that replaces Trini in the show as the next Yellow Ranger. Cool. I don't think Adam or Rocky have showed up yet in this alternate universe, but it's kind of a fun preview of what Power Rangers eventually becomes. And on the other world side of things, we have the rest of the Rangers gearing up for an assault on Rita to get the power coins back and get their powers back. It's really cool, and it adheres to the Power Rangers mythos in a way that they're not just making stuff up and this is just like a whole new thing, but it's also expanding on it in ways that you've always kind of wondered, what if that happened, or when does this occur exactly? Like that Kimberly series that just wrapped up a while ago was fantastic. So this series continues to just shine. Kyle Higgins is fantastic, and I can't wait for this thing to just keep going for as long as they want. Because with Power Rangers, you can just keep rotating the cast out, and Rocky, Aisha, and Adam can show up, and they could even go into Zeo or Turbo. Maybe not so much. That wasn't that big with the fans, but there's so much you can do with this. Again, like Highlander, there's just an infinite possibility that you could do. That's all I have for comic reviews. I do have a little bit of comic news, though. Marvel is going to be launching another Darth Vader comic. The most recent Darth Vader comic wrapped up at issue number 25. I thought it was a great story of bridging Vader between A New Hope and Empire, and kind of seeing how he winds up in the position he's in Empire Strikes Back. But this one is actually going to pick up right after Revenge of the Sith. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be Vader right as he becomes Vader. He's fresh in the suit, and this is Palpatine sending him on his first missions as an official Sith Lord. So I've
My
always
first mission by Darth Vader.
Yes, with a little fridge magnet. But it's I've talked to a bunch of my friends about this, and they say a fun Star Wars anthology movie would be watching Vader during the Purge, hunting down the Jedi that didn't get killed in Order 66. So it looks like we may be getting that in the comic form of, because I'm sure obviously it's not just Yoda and Obi-Wan that didn't get off. There's got to be at least a few straggler Jedi out there, so he's got to go hunt them down. They haven't no word on how many issues this one's going to run for. It looks like it's going to be dropping, I believe, in June of this year, so I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for that. I think that's it for comic news. I just got my TV and my movie stuff.
Let's do TV.
Well, I did Arrow, Flash, and Legends tomorrow, like I always do. Arrow, big things, big shakeups. Everybody now knows that Adrian Chase is Prometheus, and it's funny because you think with as many episodes as they have left, dropping that huge reveal would kind of take the steam out of it, but it's actually not. It had kind of the opposite effect because he's been planning his revenge for so long. He's wormed his way into Oliver's life. He's literally Oliver's direct subordinate. He's the DA for the city, and Oliver's the mayor. And you'd think, okay, this is just going to be one giant brawl. He's going to go into hiding and disappear. But no, he's thought so far ahead. He's actually able to maintain his life as Adrian Chase, the city's DA, while pushing Oliver in every direction he wants to go. And it's great because we haven't had this kind of chess game between Oliver and an opponent really since season 2 with Slade Wilson. And season 2 was the high point of Arrow, is pretty much most fans agree on that. And we've kind of definitely gotten back to a season 2-ish vibe where there's the guy's in plain sight. Oliver knows who he is, and he knows kind of what he's going on, but there's really not much he can do because the guy has been working on this for so long. And it was a great episode. We watched how far Chase is willing to go. There was one scene in there that was really messed up, and it was great. And this guy's completely bonkers. Out to get the nets, throw him in Arkham, Looney Tunes. They brought Talia al Ghul into the present storyline as well in the flashbacks. And it was interesting, but I don't like exactly where they're going with her.
That's interesting because they really raved about Talia al Ghul.
It was a really big deal. That's the closest we've ever gotten to a Batman reference in Arrow.
That was all over the place for about 3 weeks.
The flashback stuff they were doing with her was interesting because you get she's playing a long game with Oliver. She's training him for a certain reason. But the present storyline stuff is it really kind of feels like they just needed a way to get her into the present storyline too, and I don't want to give too much away. But still, a good solid episode, great fight scenes. I'm so glad we got away from the him fighting hordes of guys with M16s and just not getting shot.
Special forces who can't.
Yeah,
shoot.
They're like, oh no, there's one guy in a giant green suit. How are we ever gonna hit him?
But up on a metal stairwell.
Yeah, all the railings are getting shot. Not him. But no, Arrow Season 5 continues to be really good. Now that Chase's identity is out in the open, it's going to be interesting to see how they try to deal with him. Which brings us over to Flash. After the whole Gorilla episode, kind of not bad, but a little bit of a letdown, this week was a real fun one. We had Barry going into the Speed Force again to try to save Wally, who got thrown there by Savitar. The Into the Speed Force episode from Season 2 was great. I loved it. I thought it was probably one of the top 3 episodes they did all season. And this one looks like it's probably going to shape up that way for me, too. Barry goes into the Speed Force again, except this time the Speed Force doesn't feel so warm towards Barry. It's not big on the whole Barry altering the past storyline and creating Flashpoint. And he gets to see kind of his past mistakes and failures. He meets Eddie again, which was great to see Rick Cosnett back. Robbie Amell came back as Ronnie Raymond.
Cool.
And Wentworth Miller was back as Leonard Snart. And each character kind of is trying to push Barry towards the realization that you made this mess. Nobody but you can fix it. Not Jesse Quick, not Wally West. You got to fix this. You started it. And so we get it was a little bit light on action, which is fine because not every episode needs to be boom, crash, pow, and this was great. And when they did do action, it was a lot of fun. We got to see Zoom come back as the evil Black Racer for a minute, and that was great. And we even got an appearance by Jay Garrick. So John Wesley Shipp is back, and that was a lot of fun. And it was a real nice kind of funny to say this, but it was a nice way to slow down and have Barry come to some important realizations and become the hero he really needs to be to stop Savitar. No real clues on, no real additional clues anyway, on who Savitar is, but I really like the fact that now they actually have a suit and it's real, not CGI.
I have a theory on Savitar, which is starting to make, and this is going to be a huge spoiler, so if you don't want to, and it's bizarre. It's bizarre because I'm starting to see this, and it's not my own theory. I'm going to admit, I can't remember where I first saw it, but I liked it after I saw it, that Savitar is actually Barry.
From the future?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
that's one of them now.
A major loop within a loop.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because this whole thing was Savitar said Barry put him in prison in the future. And maybe Barry put himself there for some reason, and that he just went cuckoo. There was a theory for a while that it was actually HR, and that kind of got shot out the window when Barry had that vision of the future, and HR and Savitar were in the same place at the same time, I think.
Yeah, I would kind of be surprised if it was HR. It seems like they've used him for an awful lot of characters, so I can't imagine.
And he's already been an evil speedster once.
Yeah. And like, oh, we're going to use him now for Savitar? No, don't do that.
But there was an interesting thing in that HR always calls Wally Wallace, and so does Savitar. Savitar calls him Wallace.
Maybe I'm wrong.
But I think that could just be a red herring thrown in there to tease who he's going to eventually be. But who knows? Maybe not. But this was really fun. It was great to see everybody kind of come back for an episode. My actual theory was that Savitar was actually Eddie. That Eddie had, because season 1, Eddie gets sucked into the Speed Force, basically, into that wormhole. And Cobalt Blue is a character from the comics that Eddie Thawne's kind of loosely based off of. And what happens is the same thing. He gets sucked in the Speed Force and comes back as an evil speedster. And Eddie, when he got sucked into that portal, was wearing a medallion that Cobalt Blue wears in the comics. So I'm like, there's got to be a reason he got sucked into that wormhole. He's going to come back at some point. And my theory was that he was actually Savitar, because Savitar at one point drops a line saying, I've been there from the beginning. And Eddie's been, as a season 1 character. He was right there when Barry became the Flash. So, but I don't know. Rick Cosnett said he'd be back for season 3, but maybe he just meant only this Speed Force episode and not, the whole shebang where he turns out to be Savitar himself. We'll see. But I don't know. I'm going to stick with my dark horse pick. I was totally wrong about Tommy Merlin on Arrow, though, so maybe I'm wrong again. But I think it might be Eddie, actually, who got turned into Savitar in the Speed Force and, just went completely bonkers in there. A little bit of positive news for Flash is one of the executive producers said that season 4, the main villain of season 4, will not be a speedster.
Good.
Which is good. Because I think if they did it again, it would just be like, come on.
Yeah.
4 speedsters in a row?
Because there were even internet memes about that.
Yeah.
They were kind of funny. Like
the fastest man alive until the villain shows up. Until the villain shows up. Yeah. So I like that. I think
Usain Bolt was making an appearance.
Yeah. He could be one. Yeah. But it's nice. It's fun to have those action set pieces where Barry's fighting another superpower or another speedster, but at the same time, it's like it's kind of run its course. I think watching Barry try to become faster than the villain of the season.
Yeah.
And that's really basically what all 3 seasons are boiling down to. Season 1, I'm not fast enough to stop Reverse Flash. Season 2, Zoom stole my speed. I got to get faster. Season 3, I need to get to point A to point B to save Iris, so I got to make Wally faster.
Yep.
So I think it'll be nice to kind of get away from that dynamic of there's a speedster that Barry has to try to outrun, basically. Anyway, that brings us to the last stop on the DC TV show for me, which is Legends of Tomorrow. And Legends of Tomorrow has really, ever since season 2 premiered, has been firing on all cylinders here. This one, they go to 1970 for the Apollo 13 mission to get the last piece of the Spear of Destiny. Commander Steel makes a reappearance, and after being absent from last week's episode, Reverse Flash makes his appearance as the main villain, which is a lot of fun. I didn't actually know this, but they infiltrate NASA and they all pose, and it's Martin Stein, Jax, and Heatwave all pose as British scientists. And Jax starts talking in a British accent. I'm like, wow, that's really good. He's actually British. I didn't know that.
I didn't know.
So he just let his American accent slip and it was hilarious. But it was also fun because Rip is now back on the team. They've fixed his memory. He's back to being himself. But he kind of has to make up for the fact that he's been gone for months and months and months. And in his absence, they've actually become a pretty decent functioning team with Sarah as the captain. And so a lot of this episode for Rip was him trying to struggle with the fact that not only have they done well, but they've exceeded what he ever thought they would be with him as leader. And he's trying to kind of wrap his brain around that and accept the fact that he's just another crew member at this point. So there was a couple stories going on here. We had Nate, trying to reconnect with his grandfather, Commander Steele. Commander Steele was trying to deal with the fact that he had been sucked through time and had abandoned his wife and his son. But the real highlight for me was when they actually had to get onto the moon because the Spear of Destiny was hidden in the flag that Neil Armstrong planted. And they get it's Ray Palmer, the Atom, and he gets stuck on the moonlander with Reverse Flash. And it's broken, and they have to fix it together.
That is a really cool idea, though.
And it's really fun because it touches on a part of Eobard Thawne that they haven't in a while. That he's a scientist from the 22nd century. Yeah. He recreated Barry's accident and became a speedster. So it's fun to get back to that, something they hadn't really touched on since season 1 of The Flash, when he was secretly masquerading as H.R. Wells. And it really kind of shows that out of all the Legion of Doom, he's really probably the most interesting character. Damien Dark just wants to conquer the world. Malcolm Merlin kind of just wants to conquer the world, maybe get his son back from the dead. But Eobard Thawne is actually just, all he wants is to stay alive, because he shouldn't exist because of Flashpoint. So the Black Racer's hunting him down to kill him. So really, he's basically just fighting for his survival, not to conquer the world, not to be, an evil dictator like Vandal Savage was in season 1. He just wants to stay alive. So that was another fun, interesting dynamic, and I'm wondering how that's going to go forward with him and Ray, because he has this big speech with him, and he goes, "We're really more alike than you want." And he goes, "Look at your suit. With that dwarf star, you could power an entire city, but what did you do? You put on a costume and you went out to save people. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be greater." And I really dug it. I think that this is a fun thing to do with the show, and I'm really looking forward to next week when Wentworth Miller is going to make his return to the show as Captain Cold, as part of Legion of Doom as well. So I think Legends has been firing on all cylinders, and I can't wait for this 2 more episodes in the season, and then we're unfortunately have to wait till season 3.
So we're done with it. We got the TV then.
Yep.
You liked all the TV shows again.
So yeah, a good solid week.
Awesome.
Next week is the musical crossover with Supergirl and Flash. I'm gonna watch it, but it could be fun. Musical episodes have worked in the past. Buffy did it, and it was awesome. Which I guess brings us to movies. And now we both just watched Train to Busan.
Train to Busan. Let's see. What do you think? Now,
yeah, I liked it. Mm-hmm. I didn't think it was fantastic, but I enjoyed it. And I think it was 2 things that did it for me that kind of, took the wind out of my sails with it. A, it reminded me a little too much in parts of World War Z.
Okay.
And I hate fast-moving zombies to begin with, but I'm willing to suspend, a little bit of disbelief here. But remember in World War Z, that scene where they're all climbing up over each other?
Yeah, like ants.
They did that like a couple times in this movie, and I don't know, I hated that. And it was CG, and I don't like CG with zombies. I don't. So that reminded me a little too much of World War Z. And then B, I think it was a case of just everybody talking about how utterly fantastic this movie was. Mm-hmm. So when I finally got around to it, I was like, oh, that was it? I mean, it was good, but it wasn't like the greatest zombie movie I've ever seen or anything. So I think, like I said, I still enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun, but it wasn't as hyped up for me as I expected it was going to be.
Okay.
But I still thought it was a lot of fun. It was a good... It was creepy. There were some parts of it that were really creepy. basically it starts. It's a South Korean movie, first of all. So get ready for subtitles.
You're not going to get a North Korean movie, just in case you're waiting. North Korean
for that one epic North Korean zombie movie. Well, that's North Korea.
North Korean donkey cart to Busan.
Yes. It had a great opening scene.
Sorry, I didn't think of North Korea. From North Korea, bicycle to Busan.
That'd be a long movie. But it starts with this guy running over a deer.
Yep.
And then the deer,
yeah, we don't give too much
up,
but I thought that was
really
cool.
I did like that.
This one actually started with animals, and this was, I've never seen that before. Maybe it's been some other zombie.
Well, Romero did
flick.
in Dawn of the Dead. There was not Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. There was the zombie gator.
I remember that.
But
yeah,
that's right. But that was years after.
I think that was just kind of thrown
that
in
was
there
just
for
cool,
fun.
yeah.
But I didn't mean to cut you short.
No,
I thought that the deer thing was really interesting.
It was really messed up in a cool way.
Too. Which, if you think about it, is if the animals are going bad and the people are going bad, you're really at an extinction level event.
Done.
It's pretty much
It's
over.
one thing if it's just people, but if it's people and animals, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Fight a pack of zombie wolves?
Wolves, yeah. So it's now you want to say more about that, or you want?
No, I'm just saying. That was just I was going to start off where the deer, and then it just kind of spirals out of control from there, and. It was the one thing I will say for it, even though it did kind of remind me a little of World War Z, is that this movie felt much more fleshed out in terms of its characters. Like they weren't just like Brad Pitt running around and fighting zombies, these actually felt like people during the zombie apocalypse. I think that was a much smarter decision than just big action scopy stuff. These felt like real people with real problems trying to survive in the apocalypse, and man, was that business guy just want to shoot him in the head. That smarmy CEO.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. I was reading the comments on the Twitter and stuff, and everybody said that they loved the way he was just an absolutely hateable character, and he did such a good job of playing his character. You just wanted to see him get killed, and he kept going and going and going. I don't want to give too much away here, but he was just this nasty pain in the neck who kept screwing things up for everybody.
Oh God, yeah.
And you're just like,
as soon as
that guy showed up, it was like, oh, someone's gonna pay for this.
I will say that they used the train setting. There was a couple really cool set pieces. In this one, without giving too much away, the zombies, in addition to being they're the fast World War Z zombies, but they don't see well in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a couple interesting set pieces with them trying to maneuver around them when they went through tunnels and stuff.
I loved it.
I thought it was good. It used its setting well. The characters were relatable, but it just a couple things. Like I said, there's just a little the CGI stampeding over each other thing they did a couple times.
I didn't mind it as much as you. I saw the CGI and I thought, okay, I could kind of see how they did. I didn't like the way they did in World War Z. World War Z was obvious CGI, and I just didn't like any of it.
Which is weird because this movie had, I'm guessing, a much, much lower budget than World War Z did. Mm-hmm. And the CGI was at least on par, maybe even a little better than World War Z's.
Yeah, well, it's also years later, and the technology is getting better and better too. So, but I thought one thing you said there was in Train to Busan, the characters are so well developed that you really like the character. I felt like I knew the characters, and I did a whole write up on this movie. I was so impressed with it. I really liked it. I liked it much more than Tom did, and that's okay. Tom, he's much more of a horrorphile than I am, a cinephile than I am, and I love this movie. I thought it was really well developed. It kept me interested. The action was intense, just super high, and it started quick. Right?
It
starts quick. Like you're like a minute into the movie, things start happening, and it really doesn't slow down much, except for a moment to introduce some characters, and then
it's off to the races.
Yeah, and then shell, and there's about 8 or 10 characters that you're following the whole time. You know pretty well.
There's 1, 2.
There's
3, 4.
There's a baseball team. There's a couple from this baseball team. 2 sisters.
Yep.
The bad executive. The father and his daughter.
The pregnant lady and her husband,
and even the conductor.
The conductor.
The engineer.
The engineer.
And I think there's 1 or 2 people who come in and out, and you're kind of watching them too, and they're really interesting. And so there's a lot of interesting people, and the whole time you're wondering, will they get to Busan? And if they do get to Busan, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Because everything's trashed, and the zombies are nasty, and so we can't. I like it. I can't rave enough about it, and it's on Netflix, so you can go see it.
Yeah, that's hilarious. You put that up that it was on Netflix. I saw it probably 5 minutes after you put it up, and I was like, cool, I can watch this now.
Yep. I was excited, so I'd heard a lot about this, and we also covered. We just have a link to the info on the prequel, which is
Seoul Station.
Seoul Station.
Yes.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting. It's weird to get an animated prequel like that, and it looks creepy. I saw the trailer for it. The animation style is really
pretty long too. It's like an hour and something cartoon. So
yeah, which is fun.
Yeah.
Side note, I just realized this. Speaking of zombies, Resident Evil Vendetta, which is the third or fourth animated film they've done in the Resident Evil animated film universe, is actually going to be coming to theaters for a limited amount of time.
Good.
And actually, I would recommend it. I've seen Resident Evil Degeneration. I actually own Resident Evil Degeneration. I won it at a convention I went to. And then the second one was Damnation?
I like the Resident Evil films. I've always enjoyed them.
But the animated ones are really creepy. Yeah. Like the movie, the live action ones, Mila Jovovich, they have their appeal.
Yep.
But the rest of the animated ones are really like old school Resident Evil creepy. Cool. And I'm probably gonna go see Vendetta if it comes out in the theater around here. So keep an eye out for that if you're a zombie fan.
Zombie fan, yeah.
What else we got here?
So Netflix, while you're looking that up, Netflix is getting better and better. They're just dropping more and more stuff, and it's even the go ahead. You go ahead with the movies. I got more stuff that I've been watching.
Poor Aquaman.
We're tripping and falling all over each other.
That's all right. Aquaman got delayed again.
Oh my God.
It moved from its original release date in October 2018. Now it's been pushed back to December of 2018. Yeah. It's actually December 21st.
No good reason given though.
No reason this time. It took Avatar 2's release date, so it looks like Avatar 2 is going to be pushed back however far. And I'm not clamoring for Avatar 2 anyway.
Goes anywhere, and I'm starting to see more and more people. You and I talked about this.
Avatar 1 was 2009.
2009. I can't remember a single thing from Avatar 1 except the pretty colors.
Yeah, it was.
I don't remember any
stunning.
of the characters. I don't remember anything. I'm like, how are they going to build a universe out of this? Nobody. If you go online and you're looking at all the sci-fi and horror sites, nobody talks in depth about Avatar.
It was Dances with Wolves in Outer Space.
Yeah, it was a one and done.
It was. I don't regret seeing it. I enjoyed the visual spectacularness.
I'm a little angry about the whole thing because I think Cameron could be spending his time a lot more productively on some really good material like Predator and Terminator and some other. I'm sure there's a million scripts laying around that could be dusted off that nobody has even heard of, and it would be fantastic to see. So I get a little bent when I see stuff. Here we go. The Fly is going to be remade. Again.
Why?
The Fly. Why? And what was the other one? The Matrix.
No, the Matrix actually they clarified that. That was the next thing I was going to talk about. It's not a reboot. It actually looks like it's going to be a prequel about Morpheus.
Okay, I had heard
the rumor was reboot.
Prequel, then back to reboot. So I wasn't sure where
it looks like it's actually going to be about a young Morpheus when he just gets disconnected from the Matrix. Which I think, again, it's funny because the Matrix is another one of those franchises where there's plenty of material you can do without remaking the franchise.
But they sure waited long enough.
They sure did. But they don't need Lawrence Fishburne if it's going to be a young Morpheus.
Matrix actually could probably survive a long wait like Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
Matrix is.
There's so much you can do with it. You could even do a movie from the machine perspective, like right after the movie starts, or right after the apocalypse happens.
That cartoon, that creepy
the Animatrix was fantastic. If it's about a young Morpheus, I'm okay with that. I think that'd be cool. But I do not need to see a Matrix remake. It hasn't even been 20 years.
Yeah.
Since Matrix 1 was 99.
Although Matrix, definitely not a remake by all. Because that movie defined the way sci-fi was done afterwards. If you think about what was going on
slow
back then,
motion.
You had the Matrix, and at the same time the Lord of the Rings hit, and at the same time Star Wars 1, 2, and 3 hit. Whether you liked it or not, it was a great time to be in cinema. The sci-fi, fantasy, and what was horror at the time? I'm trying to think. I think there was a big Blair Witch.
Yeah.
So it was a really interesting time for cinema. And I don't know if anybody's ever covered that. The turn of the millennium, there were some really great releases being dropped all over the place. And cinema turned on its heel and started doing all kinds of different stuff in sci-fi, fantasy, and horror.
The only problem
I was like, no, it's not been long enough.
After all that happened, everything became like
that.
Everything copied the Matrix. The found footage. Oh my God, how many found footage movies did we sit through because of Blair Witch?
That is a sign of how well that period was. I mean, it was just like back in the Star Wars days. Star Wars happened, and everybody tried to do Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica. Those were the two that led the field. How about when in the early 80s or late 70s, Halloween, Freddy, Jason? They're really all minor copy. Nah, they're not copycats of each other, but everybody tried to
variations on
do
a theme.
variations of the variations. So the horror you had a renaissance of horror,
and then we finally got Freddy versus Jason.
Yes, and Jason Space or something like that. I forget.
Oh my God, Jason X! Yeah. Oh my God, that one was.
And what did we have for
ridiculous.
some more sci-fi? We had Terminator, which has been a million copies of, and we had all kinds of cyborgs and stuff like this. So
who was first?
It's
was
a
Terminator
good thing
or Cyborg first?
Terminator.
Terminator?
Yeah, Terminator was way early. Terminator was about 84.
84.
They were. I'm sorry. They might have been right on top of each other.
I was going to say because I think Cyborg was right about that time.
Yeah, Cyborg might have been 86, but don't quote me on that. Maybe I'll look.
I
it
should
up
know. I own Cyborg.
Yeah, Cyborg was a fantastic
and Terminator.
movie. So it was just a cool. Then you had Predator. I mean, you had a renaissance going then too, and it seemed like there was some really
Predator's a weird one. Predator's like sci-fi / horror / action / everything.
Yeah,
it was really. I was a weird animal, but it was great.
Yeah, and so it was really exciting. Now I took you all the way out of here. From Aquaman.
That's kind of what we're doing.
But your Aquaman question is what's going on with Aquaman. Now what's going on with Batman? Batman's another mess. It's just let's just say. Where are we going with Batman? Now, last I heard, Affleck was in or out of rehab, and somebody else. Oh, now Manganiello. Sorry, I apologize for butchering his name. Joe Manganiello
might not be playing Deathstroke.
He's kind of I might not. We were just saying, it's going to be Joe Manganiello.
He's perfect
for
2 weeks later,
he's not going to be Joe Manganiello. So he's hearing stuff. If he's all of a sudden hemming and hawing, I have a feeling they're going to shelve this thing.
It makes me very nervous.
I'm going to make a call that they're going to shelve this.
I have been standing up for the DC universe, film-wise, for a long time. Because I admit, it's patently obvious they jumped on the Marvel bandwagon. I'm not going to deny that. They saw how well Marvel was doing with, Iron Man and Thor and Captain America and Hulk and all these guys in the same universe. So they tried to do the same thing. But the problem is they rushed it. They tried to get to Justice League 3 movies in, or 4 movies in. Because the only things before this were Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Suicide Squad, which doesn't really connect, but it does, and Wonder Woman, and then straight to Justice League. That's 4 movies in.
Yeah.
And, Avengers only happened after 5 movies. And Avengers happened very organically. This was planned. This was something Marvel had been ready for since, 2006. But DC, it just feels like it's trying to go, 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 go.
Well, I like it. And I'm thinking, if you're DC, and I could be wrong here, I'm just trying to figure out what they're thinking up in the boardrooms, and you've got Batman, which is all over the place, the fans are pissed, and things are going wrong, and the actors are in and out, and you've got
directors are in and out.
Directors are in and out. Musical people are in and out. But then you've got on the horizon Wonder Woman, which looks like it's going to be. I mean, that trailer was amazing.
Oh yeah,
and I think it's going to be.
Which is,
you know what I think it's going to be? Let me
sure go for it.
I think it's going to be the love story of the summer, the action romance of the summer.
It's going to be Spider-Man.
It's going to be out of the park.
Spider-Man.
That romance.
From 2002, all over again.
Spider-Man 2002, which devastated Star Wars because Star Wars had that wooden, awful, hideous Attack of the Clones romance. I like you. I like you too.
But we can't be together because I'm a Jedi.
But then you had Peter Parker and Mary Jane with that famous upside down hanging scene, which was amazing. And this could be that level of a romance. And I think the movie looks good. And I'm not just saying it to be a fanboy because I don't care. For me, it looks like it's a decent movie. And you've also got so they might move Aquaman out of the way. Wonder Woman could be hot, and Wonder Woman will certainly reboot. And also you've got the Gotham City Sirens, which is making more and more noise now.
Which is funny that movie is getting made on a quicker production schedule, it almost seems, than Batman.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's just one of those cases where they're not too focused on it. They're like, oh yeah, you can do that. We'll worry about Batman.
You're right. I never thought about that. And that is odd.
David Ayer's just over there like, okay, I'm going to do what I want. And then, hopefully...
Batman is the crown jewel.
That's why I think they're obsessing over it. I think they're too focused on it. I think they're just they're too lasered in on it, and they have to have it their way, and people are just losing their minds and don't want to do it. But hopefully after, I think they really need to learn from this debacle of director's cuts, because Marvel doesn't do director's cuts. What you see is what you get.
In their defense, some of it might not be entirely their fault.
No,
they have a guy who's got substance abuse problems, and I don't know what's going on.
I just mean yes, Marvel puts deleted scenes and stuff in the DVD releases and Blu-ray releases, but it's not here's an alternate cut of what might have happened if we hadn't done this. But with DC, 2 out of 3 movies now, we have alternate cuts.
Yep.
And both cases were better movies because of the cuts.
And you didn't know that.
And you're like, why was this not in theaters? Now, with Batman and Superman, it's a half hour. So that made it a 3-hour movie. Mm-hmm. So I can see how you might not want to have people sit through a 3-hour movie. I personally loved it.
I don't think... I'm surprised they didn't do that. Yeah. Lord of the Rings were 3-hour movies.
But with Suicide Squad, it only had 13 minutes. And it didn't make it a radically different movie, but it did make it a better movie.
Yeah.
So I think, hopefully, that if DC can learn from that and just let the directors make the movie they want to make and not cut it to ribbons, we'll be much better off.
Yeah.
Because that's 2 out of 3.
And they can't mess up Batman anymore because they just can't afford to do it.
And the problem is, if you're doing a Batman solo movie, it's definitely, inevitably, it will be compared to the Christopher Nolan trilogy.
Sure.
Which the Christopher Nolan trilogy is 3 great movies.
Yeah.
Not a single one of them is bad.
The Dark Knights.
Batman Begins, great way to start things off. Dark Knight, mind-blowingly fantastic. Dark Knight Rises, maybe the weakest of all 3, but still a really good movie. Yeah. So it's, you're inevitably, it's going to get held up against that first Ben Affleck movie. So they just need to hands off a little bit. Let the people in creative working on the movie do the movie.
Yep. Christopher Nolan just reminded me of something else too. With which Terminator was he in?
Christopher Nolan.
Or not Christopher Nolan. Sorry, I said Christopher Nolan. I wanted to tell you about Terminator, but I you know what happened? I looked down at a sheet here while we have a sheet of stuff. And I looked at a name and I looked at another thing and I mixed them both together. I apologize for that, folks. I want to jump onto a quick topic here. Another movie franchise that's in trouble right now is Terminator. I said Christopher Nolan. I'm looking at 2 different things here. I'm one in one hand, one in the other.
I would actually love a Christopher Nolan Terminator movie.
I was thinking Christopher Nolan. It's something else. The Terminator franchise apparently is in trouble for the 20th time. As Tom will say, it's always in trouble, and yet they seem to pull another movie out. But I think that what they need to do is just sit down with Terminator for a little bit and maybe do some fun Terminator stuff, maybe some animated.
Well, again, I feel like this is going to be a broken record of the day, but the Terminator franchise has so much stuff that it can do.
Yeah,
some of the best Terminator stuff is those book series we have. Where
do you get the feeling you're overthinking this one too?
Oh God, yeah.
They're just totally overthinking.
You don't even need Arnold as the Terminator.
Yeah.
He's model 101. That means there's 100 other looking dudes that you could have it be. Now, I mean, yes, it won't be the same without Arnold as the Terminator, but you'll get over it. You'll be fine.
There's a lot of other great characters.
There's a lot of fun stuff to do. You could set the whole movie in the future, have it be part of that war that Connor wages in Skynet. You could have it set in the past, but like a side thing where there's so much stuff to do with the Terminator. And the hilarious thing is, the Terminator franchise is more hit than miss. There's been a couple stinkers. 3 and 4 we don't really enjoy so much.
The 3 wasn't that good. It was dark and creepy and
dark and creepy is fine, missing. But it just felt like a remake of 2 with a smaller budget.
It was missing something. I don't know what. I never figured that out.
But I don't get why there's this hesitance to do another Terminator movie. There's a proven market for it. The last one didn't bomb or anything. It did fine.
Well, I think it's this fear. It's got to be bigger than the last one. It's got to make $100 zillion.
Which is, again, jumping all over the place. But that's why apparently, allegedly anyway, one of the reasons that Tim Miller dropped out of Deadpool 2 is he wanted to make it like this big, huge production. And Ryan Reynolds said, we did the last one on a relatively small budget, and it was a humongous success. Why do we need to do...
And Ryan Reynolds is right on that, because if you look at that Deadpool, that silly teaser with no good deed came out, there's been I just checked that a little while. There's like 22 million views on that, just on one of those
5-minute snippet.
The 5 minute, and there's a whole bunch of people with a 5-minute snippet of the same one. And if you go to one of them has 22 million views. If I was a studio exec, I would drop everything and be rushing, fast tracking this to the front of the line. And making sure it's done right.
Not too far off, yeah.
But you know what they still haven't got? As we're talking to you right now, here's more news. The casting for
Cable.
Cable. God, I've got Deadpool on the brain. Or Bane on the brain. Cable is supposed to be imminent. It might be happening as we're speaking right now, but it's been saying since yesterday that we're about to do it. And there's all these different names being thrown around, and so it's going to be interesting to see
Which is weird, because for a role like this, there's actually a couple different people that I would actually be really happy to see get a run as Cable. One of them, the guy I think should get it, is Stephen Lang. I think he's perfect for Cable. But I've seen rumors of Kevin Nash, who would kind of be fun. Dolph Lundgren could totally pull it off.
Dolph Lundgren's his name's all over the place.
Yeah, there's been there's a few people who could actually pull this off, and I would actually be happy with that casting, which is interesting because most of the time you're like, no, this guy should be it. That guy is totally capable, or whoever, Superman, Batman, pick a superhero. But in this case, there's actually they've got a few options here.
Did you see who they're thinking about? Who was kind of getting? I don't know if it's official or non-official, but you've got your oh god, who's the two brothers who chase the evil spirits and things?
Oh, Supernatural.
Supernatural. Who's the brunette?
They're both brunette.
No, who's the
long hair or short hair?
I want to say I can't remember. One of them, and I'm having a total.
Jared Padalecki and Jensen Ackles are.
I think it's Jared.
Okay.
He's being kind of bandied about as Nightwing.
Oh, okay.
It's trying to say maybe he could be a really good Nightwing.
Have
I got the right name on that one?
Yeah, I definitely.
And I apologize, folks. I have not been I like Supernatural. I just drifted off. I just have not been able to catch up on.
Yeah, I could see that. He'd be an interesting, which is hilarious because Jensen Ackles, the other one, actually voiced Jason Todd in one of the animated movies. But I could see that.
So how interesting with that?
Yeah.
I think he would be pretty good.
Which is funny because those guys have been wildly successful in Supernatural.
Yeah.
But they've done a few movies here and there, but not in a long time. The last thing Jared Padalecki did that was widely released was the 2009 Friday the 13th reboot, which I liked. But that's it. He hasn't done like a big Hollywood movie since then.
So we're hoping we see something. We hope we see some Nightwing news on this one too. So
which is he's getting a solo movie, so they need to pick somebody.
And we'll see who the villain is. What else do you have?
The last thing I got, the last one I have is I forgot to mention this when I'm doing TV. I haven't watched Iron Fist yet. I know I'm really behind. I'll get on that. But what I have been watching is Legion. Okay. And Legion, for those of you who don't know, is about David Haller, who is the son of Professor X. Mm-hmm. And David Haller suffers from multiple personality disorders, schizophrenia. He's completely bonkers cuckoo. And his multiple personalities, each one of them has a different power.
Yep.
So his baseline normal personality is he's a telepath like his father. But then there's one who's telekinetic, one who's pyrokinetic, one who can teleport, one who can do all that. And so he's a very interesting comic character, and I was curious to see what they do with him in a TV show. And I finally just binged all 6 episodes that they're out right now with. And the show is mind-blowing. It's absolutely fantastic. It's so visually trippy, and you're not sure what's really going on and what's in his head. Who is it? It's Dan Stevens is playing Legion, and he gets basically busted out of his mental asylum to help another group of mutants fight a government agency that's trying to track them all up and catch them. But David is clearly not in his right mind, so they have to try to help him through all of this stuff. And there's an evil presence within his mind that's kind of working against him the whole time. And we're only an 8-episode season, so I'm only 2 to go, but it's fantastic. And it's on Hulu right now, so I would recommend checking it out if you're an X-Men fan. And that's all I've got.
And that's it. I'm gonna throw 2 things here, and we're gonna be out because we got a lot of stuff coming in next week. I'm still following JoJo's Big Adventure, which I'm really enjoying. I'm into season 2 now, and I highly recommend it if you haven't watched it. It's up on Hulu, and a lot of fun. I particularly enjoy the way a lot of the characters have names of classic rock and heavy metal bands, which is kind of funny.
Really?
Father Styx and Tom Petty and somebody Speedwagon and oh my god, it's kind of funny.
That's pretty fun.
It's kind of funny, and I'm like always waiting for the next character, and like, oh, I know that band. That's really funny. So I'm not going to go into the whole detail of what JoJo's about because it's really weird. It is a bizarre adventure. He's kind of chasing this nemesis of his through time almost, and his family, extended family, and the new one is chasing it through time. There's JoJo, and he's going after his half brother, and it's very interesting stuff. His half brother's picked up a evil force through this mask, and he's become like a super demon vampire creature, and so it's kind of cool. I like it a lot. I like the stuff. It's very silly and a lot of fun. And the other thing I wanted to just finally cover once and for all, I finished the entire Hyperion series, 4 books, a lot of pages. It took me a long time. I've been meaning to cover it for quite a while, but I just didn't get around to it, and because it was so big, and I wasn't sure how I was going to do it. And so what I finally said is to heck with it. I'm just gonna wrap this thing up because otherwise I could talk about Hyperion Cantos. There's 4 major novels in it for hours because it's so big, and it consists of Hyperion, the fall of Hyperion, Endymion, The Rise of Endymion, and you can even throw some short stories in there, but I didn't bother. There's like 3 or 4 of them, and they're all written by Dan Simmons, and I just read them all, and they're really good. And in a quick summary, I want to just say, if you like sci-fi, this has everything for the sci-fi reader, and it's a lot of reading, but it's a great reading, and they generally kept a good pace, which is why I stayed with them. It's got a background. It's in the future, hundreds of years in the future. And the Catholic Church has gone really bad. And the church itself is okay, but the people at the top are really, really nasty, and they've gone like cuckoo. And so humanity is split into 2 parts, and there's one group who won't go near anything to do with the church, and the other one, and they've kind of like, they're the ousters. They're way out in the outer part of the galaxy, and then there's the main guys who our characters are hooked in with. And it's very complicated. There's like wheels within wheels within wheels within wheels of this thing. So I'm not going to spend hours on it, but there's space battles, cool technology, time travel, rapid space travel, a secret AI who escaped from man, and itself is the split. In other words, way back in the beginning, when it came out of the internet, the AI it began to evolve like Skynet. And so this thing, but it's a Skynet with like a division within itself is fighting itself. One wants to destroy humanity, the other one wants to keep it and actually kind of leech off it. And so it is this fighting within itself, and it is humanity fighting within itself, all these different groups. And then the bad parts of the super AI create a Terminator type creature, a series of them, to try to hunt down a person who's sent by an even a higher group called they kind of refer to them as the lions, tigers, and bears, because nobody knows who they are, and they're way up the line, and it sounds like they're almost like gods, and you never really, well, I'm not going to say too much, but they're the highest of the high in this book, and they kind of run everything, and they send an agent down to a female, a girl, and she's going to try to fix things and try to get things cleaned up. They know that there's a huge amount of corruption, and most of humanity has been enslaved by these devices, and they don't even know it, and they're being used as almost like a processor. And it's very interesting stuff. So it's almost like a Matrix and a Terminator, and all these ideas mixed into one. It's a really cool, and I really enjoyed it. And so we have a little bit of everything for sci-fi fans here. Highly recommend this series, and I'm trying to read 52 books in 52 weeks, and this was like 4 of them, and it took me a long time, but I'm catching up slowly but surely. So we finally got a very basic Hyperion Cantos. The whole thing is called the Hyperion Cantos, and individually you got the books. We finally got a very basic review here, and if you're not reading anything right now, or you're looking for something cool and you like sci-fi, start with Hyperion, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Let us know what you think. In the meantime, that's it. We're going to wrap up. Next week we got Power Rangers. I'm going to be heading to a very cool show, which I'm not going to tell you about right now, but I will be telling you next. Oh, what the heck? Max Sabbath. Heading off to Max Sabbath. And I'm going to see them this week, actually. I'll give you a review and let you know how it was. Max Sabbath is a horror. It's horror, fast food horror metal. And if that isn't your thing, I'm sorry, but I can't help you. I mean, who's not into fast food horror metal? So they're straight out of they say they're out from beyond space and time, but they're really from LA, and so they're really they're beyond space and time. Could it get any weirder? So it's really cool, and we're gonna go check them out. They're like a Gwar type thing, but they're really a lot of fun. They do a lot of Black Sabbath covers and stuff. So anyway, we're gonna go see them and let you know how it goes. We want to let you know, please support the podcast. Please give us a like, a thumbs up. It helps a lot. Follow us on YouTube. You can click on it and just become followers. We try to make we are generally on time every week with a podcast, so we're a weekly podcast. You can also find us on Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Minds.com. Minds.com is a new social media platform, which I've been putting stuff up there slowly, but it really is still in beta, so I'm having a little problem with some of the things that
get down on the ground level.
Yeah, and we got the website too, so we got a lot of stuff going on, and so if you can support us, and if you do any shopping at Amazon, please, an easy way to support us for free, go to our site, click on the Amazon link there before you go through. You'll see an Amazon ad, and do your shopping through that. We get a few pennies, and it helps the site survive and gives us a little bit of money, and we can keep doing this, and we have a great time doing it because we really like it, and we can use any support we can get, and that's a free and easy, and it doesn't cost you a penny. In the meantime, we'll see you next week. Keep the geek.
Bye, guys. Awesome.